Welcome to the Nexus Unloaded podcast. This is Will Crozier.
And I'm Nikki Westcombe. We are the founders of Nexus Performance. Joining us on this wild ride is our heavyweight coaching team, ready to unleash their expertise to solve any problems in your journey to getting strong and jacked.
Through our real-world experience, we hope to break things down in a digestible, applicable, and entertaining way.
So pump up the volume and let's get into this.
I'm in the wrong industry. I should have been born a country pop star.
Country pop star, yeah.
Well, she started country, now she's pop. Welcome back. We're just discussing Taylor Swift.
Very important topic in the current Australian landscape.
In the
Big
current
T Swifty.
In the current Australian landscape, we have arguably some of the biggest artists in the world in our country right now.
Yep.
Blink-182, Taylor Swift, Matchbox 20, Goo Goo Dolls, Rise Against.
Right up your alley.
They're all touring.
Being a 20-year-old, 50-year-old person yourself. So
yeah, yeah, I'm a grown man. That's like, it's fucking sick.
Yeah,
it's honestly sick. Like, I think Melbourne or Sydney.
I could have seen you at T Swift. To see that.
I'd go to Taylor Swift 100%. If I didn't have to deal with
your mum, I reckon.
No, Mum went to Pink. Oh, Pink's here too.
Yeah, she's all right.
Yeah, like the other night in Sydney, I think it was. Matchbox 20 and Taylor Swift finished at the exact same time at opposing stadiums. So the crowd to get out of Melbourne. Yeah. And Blink-182 played the same night, I think, at another location.
What, a different city, though?
No, Melbourne.
What?
I think 3 of them played on the same night in the same city.
Why? Who organises this shit? Surely the city, like there's some guy at council going like,
this is going to really fuck us up.
Yeah, he's going to his boss like,
he's like, we've got a problem.
Yeah, he's like, fuck, I don't know what we've done. Like, because when I went to like footy games in Sydney and stuff, they organise like it's free public transport, so you walk outside and there's like 1 billion buses waiting to take.
They shut down. Home. They have to shut down streets in Melbourne.
Yeah, wow.
So imagine. And it would have been the largest mix of demographic because you've got Matchbox 20 and the Goo Goo Dolls, which is like 40s, 50s, like, your old school rockers. You've got like the Rob Thomas fans. I think the Goo Goo Dolls are in their 50s or nearing 60 at least. You've got the middle crowd, which would be Blink-182. They're like all the 90s punky kids and a little bit older people. And then you've got the Swifties, which is like probably
mums and daughters dressed up in
families and stuff. Like, that'd be a wild mix.
Yeah, big after parties for sure.
Yeah.
But I was in Melbourne as well, so that was a big highlight for them.
Yeah, that was actually the highlight of the month.
Yeah, the council.
Who were you seeing? He was
stressing.
You saw 2 people.
Well, I went down there for 2 different concerts on consecutive Thursdays. They couldn't book out the stadiums, those bands, but they were, the second
competing against Taylor Swift.
No, different. Yeah, slightly different. Slightly, I wouldn't say downgrade, sidestep. But yeah, I was down there. Me and it was actually a ridiculously large. We started with the 2 concerts, which were the first one was a German power metal band named Blind Guardian, which I was into with as a kid, but power metal is a niche sort of metal that's very fantasy, a lot of fantasy themes. So it was pretty much like a Dungeons and Dragons convention, music version of that. And the crowd was sick because it was just all like really nice people. Everyone was like, "Oh, excuse me, can you?" Like it's very, very friendly crowd. And then the following Thursday was a metalcore concert, which was Northlane era Landmarks, which are all metalcore bands, so much younger. Modern metal sort of stuff, much different crowd. People weren't quite as nice. They were still nice, but they were much more, dance around and fucking go spastic sort of crowd. But yeah, really good. We actually started, I didn't book it for and be on consecutive weekends. It just worked out that way. And then we decided, hey, I'm going to spend the whole week in Melbourne between, so I don't have to fly down twice and organise all that shit. So we did that. And then we started to fill in the gaps with things. So when that happened, I reached out to Eugene Teo, Gambo, who we're associated with through their app, and said, hey, let's do a fuckload of content, which on the Saturday we did. I did push workout, leg workout, gymnastics workout, and put Anna, who's a gymnastics coach, through an SBD max out all in the one day. So it was quite the day.
Exactly what we encourage you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
PRER.
She did really well.
I mean, I saw your toe to bars.
They were pretty good. No, you saw the first go. That first go.
There was a lot of impact.
That was the funniest for Instagram, right? So we needed, we wouldn't put up the good ones because they would have been too good and everyone would have been, Will's just,
good at everything.
Far from it. Watch the video when they come out. They're not great.
Would have shut down Lagong Street.
But yeah, they started off pretty, as you said, impactful. It's weird because when you have a big base level of strength, whether you go into when you go into any other thing, you can use that strength in ways that you're probably not meant to do. Like I've never done it, but like people talk, friends that have jiu-jitsu, and they'll say how they get into jiu-jitsu and they'll just like, instead of being quote unquote technical and learning the moves in the way it should be done, they just kind of out strength people, which is not really how you're meant to do it.
Yeah.
But obviously an advantage to use you play to your strengths.
Yeah.
So, but it was the same with that. As I just found like she's like all flowy and Eugene couldn't quite get his toes up there. And then I was just like, she was trying to show me how to be flowy, and I was like, I can just fucking kick it though. Like I can just muscle my way there. I can literally just kind of like bicep myself up there and then kind of
try and muscle
up. We learned the first exercise was kipping. So we tried to learn kipping as just like getting the fucking flailing fish action down, and then tried to get the toe to bars. And then we did a ring transition as just the transition part of a muscle up. We tried to have a go at that. Obviously regressed versions of all these. We didn't just get absolutely thrown in the deep end. And then some chin-ups to finish. So my forearms especially were absolutely completely rooted by the end. But it was actually really fun, and my shoulders felt better for it.
See, I honestly reckon if we would try that here, if we had a way to do that, you'd be able to muscle your way through a muscle up very easily as well.
I think
being like powerful and strong, you'd quite literally just be able to throw yourself up on the bar. Technically, it'd probably look shit.
Yeah, but you'd do it.
But you'd be able to do it really easy.
But like, this is what I was talking about with when it came to the other stuff, I could do that kind of as well. But like Anna was doing sets of, I think she was on 10, but they were really easy. And she said she usually does like sets of 20. And she said it's not uncommon for people at like a high level CrossFit to do like 90 unbroken kips.
Like muscle ups.
Kipping chin-ups.
Yeah.
Like in their wads and that.
Once they get in their flow.
Yeah, once they're in their flow. And I was like, see, I could muscle up through 1 or 2 or 3, but like I'm using so much more of the gas tank. Like there's not a fucking chance. So it's a different strategy. But you'll have to watch that when it comes out. It was fun. It was
sick.
I would do it again, especially the toes to bar thing. They were the one that I felt that I could, if I put a little bit of time into it, I think I could actually get half decent. The hard thing for us as powerlifters, when you're in powerlifting, if you think about squatting and benching and even deadlifting to some degree, you're very much like pulling. It's not just this, but like pulling back and down with your shoulders, pulling your elbows behind you in like kind of a row position. You are extending through your back a lot. You're doing a lot of that extension, which makes sense because the sport's power based and extension leads to the power. But we don't flex ever, and a lot of the gymnastic movements are about flexing. I think it would help maybe in some areas if we could incorporate it, but it would need to be at a suitable level, obviously. But yeah, it opened my mind up to a lot more of that stuff. So a lot more exploration, as I have been with training lately, which people would know if they've been listening to this.
Yeah.
But we did that. And then we did the Sunday, which was out in Ballarat, presenting with our man Anthony Krisner, an SBD workshop, the first one that we've done since me and you did them here a long time ago.
Workshop,
and something that we're definitely doing more of this year, a lot more of. But yeah, that was cool. The Ballarat crew out there was really, really just welcoming. It's such a good crew out there, just fucking great people.
Small country town.
Yeah,
everyone just like they're there because they fucking love it.
Yeah, and it was and they were awesome, and it was really cool to present. A lot of people from different backgrounds, like had some CrossFitters there, had some bodybuilder, had some like sports people there, like just different, not all just pure powerlifting. So
they didn't label themselves as one thing. They were just like, yeah, this is sick.
And they were coming there just to learn, which
I love that.
Mad. And then like, it was funny because like on some of the things, like there was one older guy, CrossFit coach there who rocked up, and he was a legend, like just really open, but you could tell he was like a had never done anything powerlifting in his life, just pure crew CrossFit, Olympic lifting type thing. And like I remember one moment because we went to go through bench press, and obviously what you'd expect would be very protracted and a lot of like things that like he would be doing in CrossFit, not able to get that big arch and things like that, which we got through some cueing. But the funniest thing was when he grabbed the bar to bench, hook grip. He was hook gripping it on his bench. Like,
Man's just committed to the cause.
Yeah,
I fucking love that.
Loving some.
You want to hate yourself with hook grip? Go do it on everything you do, and you'll never hate it.
It makes no sense though, because
it doesn't. But fuck, it does for him.
Yeah, it was just fucking hilarious because you're like obviously just so used to.
I wonder if he does his overhead push presses with hook.
I don't know. I know they have to start to get it up there to clean it.
No, I just mean in general, like if you know how they practice just doing the push press movement.
Yeah,
I wonder if he does
I've never seen anybody set up for a bench press hook grip. It was mad.
No, that's sick.
But
maybe that's the secret.
I was just like, no, we don't
do that here.
No,
we don't do that here.
I mean,
mate.
you could. There's probably nothing against it, but yeah,
I can't imagine it'd impact too much.
Nah, and well, it might change where you put the pressure of the hand. That's the only thing. But yeah, we got out of that with a lot of people there. Got a lot of value, some really good feedback, and I'm keen as to run more this year. We definitely have some here. We have some in Townsville.
Yep.
We might sneak in a couple in other locations. If anybody has any suggestions, reach out.
If anyone wants us in their gym,
yeah, reach out. We'll make it happen.
We're available. Fuck yeah, that was a big 2 weeks.
Yeah, and then I went to a Cardi's gym on the Monday, and we filmed a.
That's right, you did too.
We filmed a like a little progression in terms of weightlifting as well. So did fucking everything in those 3 days. Oh, we did sprints. I think that was Tuesday. Yeah, but like I was so ruined by that point. Like my whole body had DOMs. Everything was sore, and I went to do like my first set of my first sprint of the session, and my shins were absolutely blowing up. And I was just like, this was not a good idea. But it was still fun to hang out with those guys and do it. So just
get amongst the crew a bit.
Yeah. So I hit everything that you could possibly hit within the span of a week, really.
Fuck yeah.
And I'm back in training.
Hybrid
consistent
athlete.
Training today. Shitty hybrid athlete.
Hey.
And you went to, you had Blink 182, but you also had a comp on the weekend.
Yeah. So I had a comp on the weekend, B&B Brawl. Probably one of the most organized competitions I've ever been at.
Wouldn't expect less from Dave.
Honestly, I was incredibly impressed.
Mm-hmm.
I was really impressed. The organization and the attention to detail was second to none. I've never seen it at a competition before in my life.
In what aspects?
They had so many warm-up racks.
Yeah,
but each rack, individuals were assigned to a rack.
Yeah.
So they had individuals assigned to a rack.
Yeah.
But then for every 3 racks, they had an assistant from their gym helping load and unload and spot. And so at me as an individual coach, having 3 people there on the day, it can become very cumbersome to try and handle, because each person I had on the day was in a different flight. Which is never fun.
Yeah.
Because it was just me on my own. So having just someone there, and obviously you don't want to rely on the athlete to load and unload their own bar on the day if you can help it. Just having that assistant there to be like, oh, I can help with this side here, man. And just little things like that was really cool. Obviously working in with the other coaches was awesome as well. I got to catch up. It was the first comp of the year, so I got to catch up with a bunch of people I haven't seen in a few months.
Yeah, it looked like everyone was there.
Just that, you just remember why you love it when you get into the community, and you just see so many friendly faces, and you can walk up to anyone and just have a chat and be like, how's you going? How your clients going? How's things been? Things like that. Yeah, it was just overall, it was a really good day. Had some really good showings on the platform. 2 of my clients, and then I was just handling a third just to help him out. And then Tobias, first place, absolutely killed it. 595 kilo total.
At body weight?
79 kilos.
Yeah.
17 years old.
Yeah, not bad.
PB squat.
Yep.
Equal PB bench, PB deadlift.
Yep.
Sorry, no, just under PB deadlift, but at the end, everything was around an RP 7.8. It was our whole point was to qualify for nationals. Yeah, we were essentially cruising through this one to keep enough of a stimulus in there on the back end, because we now have 12 or 14 weeks to Nats to just give him enough to get there, hit some decent numbers, see how his peak went. Continue forward.
Imagine being that logical with it. You're training at 17. Mine was I'm going to go to the gym, just flog myself, do a 1RM every week.
That was the thing, right? Is I've had this conversation with quite a few of my clients, because in a few weeks' time, I've got like 9 or 10 people doing APL states.
Yes.
All with the intention to qualify for Nats.
Yep.
And there was maybe 3 or 4 of them that I really had to explain why we weren't fully peaking, given the fact that we were then competing 12 weeks later.
Yeah. If you want to give us a quick rundown on that, I think we've said it before, but
it was more just we were essentially just looking to.
Yeah, but why don't we want to fully peak? Like, what are the benefits of that?
With relation to how much of a volume decrease you generally have as you come into the back end of a peak, like especially
through the taper process.
Through the taper process, like with accessory movements more so than anything else, but also just volume on the SBD work in general.
Mm-hmm.
What we'll tend to see is they were pushing them down and tapering them down to a point where obviously they're ready for the competition day.
Yeah, you're tapering to remove fatigue, but keep
enough stimulus and skill in there that they can achieve good results on the day. But as a part of this process, what can happen is they can become a little bit detrained for like volume and a little bit more higher volume qualities. And just general qualities and things like that. So to then get them from a point of like they've completely peaked for one day to then have to try and bring it up enough to provide more of a stimulus to push forward for another 12 weeks. Because it's not as if it's, if it was a few weeks, you could probably play around with some things a little bit differently. But for another full basically prep, you kind of want to bring enough of a stimulus back up without affecting them too much and start to have all these issues arise.
Yeah, you're usually at like 3-ish weeks, if not a little bit more, of like quote unquote stimulus, like enough stimulus to move you forward anyway.
Yeah.
In terms of like hypertrophy and general qualities, like you said. So if you do that doesn't sound that bad, but then you do that 3-4 times a year, all of a sudden like that's a quarter of your year not progressing.
Yeah, it can start to add up. And so when I sat down with Tobias at the very start of his prep and explained it to him, he was just like, "Yep, cool, sounds good."
I know. So logical at 17, man. I would have been fucking.
He had a chat to George as well, and she messaged me and she's like, "How is he 17?" He just had his head switched on so much, which is a credit to him. I've met his dad, so it makes sense. Like his dad's a legend as well, so credit to him as well. Credit to his parents in general. But he's just such a switched on kid, and he's just his way of processing and thinking about things is phenomenal. Because if someone had turned around to me, even like if you turned around to me at my first comp and said, "Oh no, we're not going to peak you because we're going to look to compete," I would have been like, "No, I want to be my best."
Yeah.
He was like, "Nope, that's cool." He was, and exactly what we wanted to do on the day is exactly what we did.
Yeah,
roughly RPE 8 for everything at max, and continue to push, and we created such a strong base, and to be knocking on the door of 600.
I'm looking forward
more left in the tank
to nationals. Is it next?
Nationals for him, so he's going to be one to look out for at nationals. And then I had Amy, who I've been working with in a 1-to-1 capacity, and honestly, she couldn't have had a worse prep. And she'll agree with me on this. That she had that many external stresses and events go on in her life that would make one of these things would be enough to make some people just pull out of the prep entirely. And she had about 10 of them stack up, and she just kept pushing on. There was weeks when we couldn't train at all. There was things that were going on, and we just kept having to manipulate the program and adjust things. And
I heard her around the gym a couple of times, like either wanting to quit or wanting to.
Yeah, if I got $1 for every time she tried to quit, I'd probably have about $10, but
rich.
It's still a lot of times over a 10-week period. But to her credit, and it just shows resiliency and perseverance and determination. Like she killed it. 3 out of 3 on squats, 2 out of 3 on bench, and then 3 out of 3 on dead.
Massive day.
Huge day. Walked away with a 12.5 kilo PR on her total.
Yeah.
In probably one of the most unorthodox preps we could have had.
Yeah.
Just killed it. I was so stoked. And then just her, like the way she carried herself on the day was awesome. She then just helped me out with the boys. As soon as she basically finished lifting, her focus just went straight to the boys. Oh, do they need this? I can help them with this. Do you want me to go grab this for them? Yeah. And I was like, this is fucking sick. Like this helps me massively. But it just shows like the camaraderie in the team and like what we've created here within the gym.
Yeah.
That, she realistically could have packed it up and gone home and said, "Thanks, have a great day."
Yeah.
But she hung around, helped everyone out, was there to support, was filming, was just checking in on me to make sure the boys were okay, keeping me in check to show me where they were, because 2 17-year-old kids, they're fucking everywhere, and I'm trying to wrangle them like the Rugrats.
Yeah.
And then, Evan, who I don't coach, but I was just handling him on the day, he had a great day, a few learning experiences, and so it was a really good day. massive day up in Brizzy.
And then, like you said, APL States is going to be huge.
APL States is going to be massive.
I have a bunch in APL States.
APL Nationals is going to be incredibly massive.
Yeah.
But then I jet off to Japan the day after for 12 days, which is...
Nice. That'll be a sleepy flight.
Probably not my best plan, but it's going to work.
Yeah.
And then,
because I have a bunch in APL States that are like online and doing different states and other federation states. So, I think that Nationals is going to be huge for the whole team.
Yeah.
And then Pro Raw is similar timeline to the states competitions.
Well, I honestly reckon
mid-March.
in terms of a Nexus, Team Nexus showing, APL Nationals is probably going to be our biggest competition showing that we've had in quite some time.
Yeah, probably since when we had Pro Raw
in total,
pre-COVID, when it was like 20 people or so.
Yeah, well, in total, I think I've got 14, 15 that should qualify.
Yeah, it's gonna be a good time.
George is nutrition coaching for a majority of them, and then Kirby's got a few of them as well. So like, it's a real fully Team Nexus thing. You've got a few people coming in and stuff like that. So yeah, and then I got to see Blink last night and Rise Against. I got nothing, eh? That was
don't get you started.
That was wild. Honestly, like I genuinely went in there, and I've seen a lot of videos of like Tom DeLonge singing and stuff. Maybe just as he was leaving the band.
Yeah.
So pretty shit house. He wasn't putting any effort in. Sounded shit. His stage presence was a bit average.
Yeah.
So I genuinely was going in there with the expectation that it was going to be pretty average, but it was more the nostalgic value of getting to listen to a band live that I've seen. Yeah. I think I've listened to them now for 22 to 24 years. So it's like pretty much my whole life of listening to Blink. And it's like Rise Against. I was more excited to see Rise Against. I was really upset that they only played 9 songs, but they were just fucking
doing the duties of the lead-up band, the warm-up
Probably
band.
one of the best pre-acts I've ever seen in my life. Like they just carried it so well. And it's funny as all hell because they're just dads. Yeah. They just all look like dads. They are. They're like in their 40s and 50s and they're just rocking out and just, it was sick. And then honestly, Blink came out and I just think I had goosebumps the whole time. Just, it exceeded every expectation I could have had.
You seated?
No, standing.
You in the GA?
So there's like, they had the premium mosh, which is like the front section, and then they had the GA mosh. I was in the GA because at first I was like, I don't really want to be in the mosh. I regretted it now, but it is what it is.
Could have been circle pitting. Not that I'm sure they didn't have circle pits, but
there was actually a few behind us.
A few? Yeah. Fuck yeah, you should win there.
No, because I'm a target.
There's no targets.
Yeah, no, there was one dude, and there's always one guy.
Yeah, if
there's always one fuckwit, and he was this short little short king with his shirt off.
Yeah, if you think you're a mad dog,
instead of just jumping around and like jumping into each other, he was fully like
shoulder barge,
thrashing and trying to throw people, and like someone would be like stop, and he'd push them over, and I'm like, man,
if you're proper like being a proper
fuckwit for no reason.
Yeah, those people in crowds are really annoying,
but phenomenal. If you get a chance to see them live, do it.
Just a quick one before we go into today's actual topic.
We do have a topic. Sorry for that.
We have novice comps, which we have mentioned, but I'll mention them again. So the one here on the Gold Coast is on the 25th of May. The one in Townsville is on the 4th of May. That's a GPC comp as well. But we have the novice comps. So
a lot of people gearing up for that now.
There are 3 lift. There are no sort of, prerequisites to do it. You can be any strength level, but it's very beginner friendly. No soft suits, no federation entry requirements as far as so it's very cheap to do, very easy to do, and the registrations for them are now open. If you are keen on those, just head to our website.
I had someone ask me a question about that the other day because I believe we may have put it in one of the emails, and I know we've spoken about this before on a podcast topic in itself. But they were like, oh, it says that anyone can do it even if you've competed before.
Yep.
And I was like, yep, absolutely. And they're like, oh, but that's not a novice. I was like, yes. What defines a novice? I know we've had the conversation and everything like that. What defines a novice? As we've said, like it could be someone who's done a few comps, like they might be quite strong for where they're at, but they may get really nervous in comps still. So it's just a little bit of an experience in a nicer, friendlier environment where they may just get a little bit of practice in, stuff like that. So if you're interested at all, please come on, register it. if you have any questions, send us a message. If you need coaching, send us a message.
Mm-hmm.
If you want help, send us a message.
All the above.
We're here to help.
So today's actual topic that we have down here was just something that has resonated with you and I a lot, and we've kind of dropped a little bits of it here and there in the past few episodes, but we thought let's talk about it a little bit more extensively. And it's on limiting beliefs around training. And that's a very wide topic, but in particular for me and you, that's been because we have personally done a lot of change ups to our training recently. It's not different, me and you, different changes, but still changes, and introducing, I guess, new movements or new styles or new elements to our training that we either haven't done it all before or haven't done it a long time before. And that has brought on, at least in my case, some limiting beliefs around that. And I've realized that I've been telling myself kind of little white lies for a long time. And a lot of people, I feel like a lot of my clients do this. A lot of people in, I don't want to say in powerlifting, because it happens in every kind of sport, like thing where you kind of like lock yourself into it. We probably
just see it more in powerlifting than anything
else.
Well,
yeah, we're around powerlifters. Yeah. So, but whenever you do like a particular thing, you kind of tell yourself that you are only good at that thing, and that maybe you start to believe that like you can't do it other things. So powerlifting is obviously a slow strength sport. It's very specific. It's very kind of repetitive if you want to get really good at it. But also the barriers to entry around the other attributes that you need are quite low. So like fitness, you don't have to be super fit to do it. Like you're literally doing 9 singles over the course of an entire day at a competition. Not saying it's not beneficial to be fit and healthy, as we've said plenty of times, but like the barrier is really low for it being an actual limiter in the sport.
Yes.
And that goes for lots of other things in powerlifting. Like you don't have to be super explosive. You don't have to be super fast. You don't have to do blah, blah, blah. Like the list goes on. You literally just need to be good at those 3 things and being just straight strong to at least kind of be half decent.
Yeah.
Right. And so when you just do that and you kind of ignore those other things, you can kind of start to get these beliefs around how like I haven't done X exercise or X type of training or X thing in a long time, and you start to tell yourself maybe a little bit of like I can't do that anymore.
Yep.
Right.
100%.
So like I know that both you and I had this when we started the conditioning classes here. Actually, I know that in one of the conditioning classes we had, I think it was just a short. It was 200 meters.
I think it was about 150 meter run.
Whatever, like 250 meter. Yeah, like sorry, 150, 200. Yeah. And it wasn't like a fast thing. It was like a medium paced jog. And I remember both me and you were. I think
it was. We had a minute to get like 200 meters done.
Yeah, it's not like super slow, but it's also not fast by any means. And we're both kind of like, like we haven't ran in a long time, so like I don't know how this is going to go. And I know for you, we've talked about it, but kind of came back from it and went like, that wasn't so bad.
No.
Like not that we didn't any volume, any intensity through it, so like we were good at it by any means. But it was like, I could do that. Whereas like for a long time, you tell yourself like, I can't run, I can't do things.
Yeah, and
then. Yeah, and we've noticed that that's the same with a lot of these new things that we're doing. There's like you just need to start and you realize that you can do these things.
Well, that was one of the big conversations we had, I think, especially around that running, which I think really sort of started to get this podcast in the works and our brains ticking over about it. But I remember pretty much, like I used to be like quite a decent runner. I grew up my whole life running athletics, cross country, AFL, everything. Like I was a really fucking good runner.
Yeah, you play AFL, I played rugby league.
When I was doing calisthenics, I'd still run 4, 5, 6 times a week consistently whilst gym training and stuff like that. But as soon as I went to powerlifting, I can't run anymore. I can't do cardio. Oh, I can't do that. I can't do this. I can't do that. Oh, if I run, I'm going to tear my hamstring. I'm afraid if I run, I'm going to do this. I'm going to blow my knee out. I'm going to do this.
Do you think that's a social media thing? Because you see it?
I think it's...
You see someone tear their hamstring running and you're like, oh...
We had Jack.
Well, yeah, Jack... yeah. Yeah, it's hard because we don't...
And I saw the I think for me, it's... I've seen...
And Jack was context as well, just for...
Jack was definitely context.
But he's always context. Yeah.
At least 4 other powerlifters I know, personally, who I've seen go for a run or a sprint or something, tear a hamstring or blow their knee out or something along those lines. And it just put that little bit of fear in my brain that was like, because in my head, I can't afford an injury. I can't afford time away from work. Mentally, I don't think I can afford time away from training. So I was like, well, is the risk versus reward worth it for me? Like, is it worth me, if I haven't run since I was 80 kilos, trying to go for a run at 110, when I'm way less fit, I'm way less conditioned in that movement, I'm a little bit stiffer, I'm a little bit more biased to certain movement patterns.
Yeah, you're certainly not going to be as good at it. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think for me, instead of thinking, oh, I'm just not going to be as good at it, I could start lower. Like if I was to look at an exercise and be like, oh, my knees hurt if I push this too hard.
Yeah,
but
you do it with clients all the time, right?
If I start here, I'm probably going to be able to build the tolerance up. No, in my head, it was like, okay, I can't run. That was it.
Well, that's half of our job. Like I tell people all the time, strength training is pretty easy. Like fundamentally, it's pretty easy. Like if somebody comes in and they're healthy, haven't had injuries before, which is very rare, but somebody comes in, then that's why programs like Starting Strength and that exist, where it's like super simple and they work, right?
Yep.
Is because it's a pretty straightforward thing. You just like kind of add load over time in a smart manner, try hard, and good things happen. And that's kind of like something that you'll see on Instagram, but it's actually not quite that simple, because what's actually fucking hard is not getting injured, not picking up little niggles, not detraining other attributes, which is what we're talking about if you do it ideally. All these other little things in the mix behind the scenes are what makes a smart program a smart program.
Yeah, and I could talk about that till the cows come home.
Yeah,
with relation to strength.
You do that with clients all the time. Client walks in here, they're like, I can't squat, or I can only squat to, I can only do a quarter squat. I can't squat to depth, or I can't.
A full podcast on this.
Yeah, exactly.
It's exactly that. But I know you said the same thing in like your head. That it was just like, no, we can't do this. Like we just can't. And then I did it, and I was like, admittedly, I was fairly shit, and my mechanics would have been, if any running coach had looked at it, would have been like, what the fuck is that?
Yeah, if I can hear you coming 100 meters away, it's not a good thing. But you survived.
I did it, and I was like, oh, yeah, that was actually fun. Like I remember why I used to enjoy doing that. And it just sort of opened up our mind. I know then we had those conversations. I know you're basically, your whole training at the moment is exactly that. Like, it's just different that you're just like, probably things you've told yourself you can't really do.
Yeah.
And then we continued on over the next few weeks, and then I had front squats introduced into my program. And I basically have never done front squats because I knew I was shit at them.
Yeah.
So I just avoided them entirely. I was like, I don't need them as a powerlifter.
Yeah, it's funny.
I only need to back squat because that's all that matters in powerlifting. Front squatting, shit at it, don't need to do it anyway, so why the fuck would I bother? It highlighted a massive amount of deficits. And yep, first week, I was shit house. Technique was poor.
Yeah.
Didn't understand anything. Didn't know what I was doing. It felt shit. And I think I nearly threw in the towel like 10 times. Yeah. Fortunately, you were there that day, and we just got to spoke through things. And then I spoke with James after, and I was just like, man, I nearly wanted to pack this up about 10 times. And I'm not really one to throw in the towel too quick. But I just stuck with it, persevered through. And then since then, I'm up like 45 or 50 kilos in the space of 4 weeks. Yeah,
because you have the strength there.
Because the strength is not the issue.
Yeah, it's
the skill and understanding. And it was just a matter of finding where I was at, taking away the like thought process of, oh, this is weak as fuck. Because I was used like 50 kilos or 60 kilos week one.
But you also had some constraints programmed around tempo and
stuff. Yeah, there was tempo, but coming off the back of a prep where I'd squatted 290. You're like,
mismatch there.
50 kilos, you're like, this doesn't make, I can lunge more than that. This doesn't make sense to me. Like but just trying to take away that little limiting belief of like, oh, I can't do this, to being like, changing my mindset to the next week being like, no, I can do this. I'm going to get really good at it because I've been a beginner in other aspects before.
Yeah, well, there's mixed opinions on this, because some people would say that's not worth your time. If you can do it, like say a high bar squat or something else that's going to, quote unquote, carry over more or be quote unquote more specific to the competition lifts, which is really only a powerlifting thing. It's only really a weightlifting powerlifting thing, because training is our sport. Whereas in other sports, they're not comparing it to anything. So it's a little bit different. It's a different mindset.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I can see both sides of the argument. I can see that, like, hey, if your front squat's 50 kilos when your squat's up near 300, maybe it's not having the biggest amount of quote unquote carryover. But think you just need to know the intent of that, right? Like you need to know like, hey, this is to improve my coordination or my ability to manage center of mass or my
hips, center of mass placement.
Lots of different things. Yeah.
My
your shoulder mobility even. Like just
I'm still doing the cross arm.
For now. But like it's still a new thing.
Yeah.
And then I mean, I think an underrated thing is learning new skills and just being coordinated in different patterns and different loading kind of positions. But that's where it's important to recognize that this is a limited exercise that's greatly limited by this thing that you're missing, whatever it is in the front squat that's missing to not allow you to load it. And going like, okay, I'm going to also do a different sort of squat or something else within the program to tick the box of like loadability and all that thing and get bigger legs and fucking all the other things.
Yeah, it's funny we're doing this podcast today because after yesterday's check-in with James, that's exactly what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
So we spent it's going to be 4 weeks total doing front squats without another secondary squat pattern.
Yeah, like you're kind of like doing like an extended
purely just for the skill-based aspect of it.
Yeah,
to wrap my head around things. And he actually sent me my check-in last night, and he's like, okay, cool, within the next 2 weeks, deadlifts and low bar squats are coming back in. And I'm a little bit shy of 40 weeks out from my next comp.
Yeah.
I have never in my life low bar squatted this far out.
I'm sure they're going to be constrained, or
there's going to be like he's already started, telling me the process around it and things like that, and the way in which he's going to constrain it or set it up and things like that. Won't go too much into detail because people can just keep up with it over the next few weeks, and we'll probably end up discussing it anyway.
For sure.
But straight away, the first thing that I said, I think I turned around to Georgina and was like, oh, low bar squats beat up my shoulders, they beat up my elbows, they beat up my biceps.
Yeah.
But then I was like, well, we've spent the last 6 weeks opening up my shoulders, opening up my ranges, etc. So like straight away, I'm already telling myself this is going to suck.
Yeah, there's already those beliefs.
I'm already putting that limiting belief on myself.
And you know what? You might be right.
Even done that.
But it's not even a bad thing though, because like you could add it back in, and it kind of does piss off the elbows and shoulders a little bit. But then you can go like, okay, like that's where I'm at. That's your measuring stick, because at some point they're coming in, whether you fucking like it or not.
Well, that was the thing, right? Is I pretty much got through my whole last prep without that issue.
Yeah.
I think I had maybe 1 or 2 bench sessions where my elbows were a little bit more spicy than normal.
We managed the
really
scheduling.
Managed our load quite well, and we set up our schedule, and I'm like, I didn't deal with that problem.
Yeah.
And like straight away, I know that the loads aren't going to be to the same caliber.
Yeah.
But I was already trying to put that limiting belief on myself to be like, this is going to suck. Instead of just being like, okay, sick. Like, let's see how this goes. Like, it's something I have not done before. So, let's see.
You don't want to talk yourself out of things before you get to it.
No, but I think that's what a lot of people do. And I know we both see it in our clients all the time. Like, we see it in ourselves. I know we see it in them. And that's, I guess, what inspired this.
I'm more than happy to throw people in the deep end, for sure.
Yeah. I think it's fun sometimes. I think sometimes you have to.
Yeah. We're even talking about deadlifts just recently with some of the boys doing trap bar downstairs. And we were like saying how, like, trap bars can be really useful because they're way more loadable when you haven't got the skill of deadlifting. But then sometimes it's also just beneficial just to deadlift and then learn the deadlift, because at some point you're going to anyway. So it's actually almost a friendlier introduction to give you the non-loadable version rather than jumping into the loadable version. You know what I mean? So like there's two different visions that you're viewing this thing at, two different angles that you're viewing it at, and you are going to, both of them have pros and cons. You're not viewing one as bad and one as good. You're viewing them as list of pros and cons. How can I blend them in a smart way to get the outcome that I want? But I think the biggest thing anyone can get from all this is just the starting point limitation. Like, you can literally do anything unless you've got a severe, like, past injury that's actually like proper. You can't do shit. Because your knees just can't move that way, or your hips can't move, or whatever. And even then, you can often like find little workarounds to a degree, or at least close variations. But if that's not the case, you can do any of these things.
Yes.
You just need to find, the hardest part is finding the suitable kind of entry point for them.
Yeah.
that will limit it in a way that so it's not just going to fuck you up. Because you said before, like your runs were shitty and you're very heavy footed when you just did the jogging thing. So like a very bad way to introduce that into your training because you recognize you're bad at it would be like, I'm just going to do fuck tons of this because like you said, you're not great at it. Your knees, your hips, your ankles, your back, everything is copying a lot more impact per land. And if we just chucked in a heap of volume, heap of intensity at you, like your body wouldn't last that long and things would hurt and you'd probably feel pretty defeated.
Yes.
But if you introduce it in a smart way with the right loading, as in like your volume intensity, as well as like some maybe regressed variations, or in that it might be the speed or whatever, like limited, capped it in some way. With some of the plyometrics and stuff I've been doing, it's been stuff like put my hands on my hips. Even with the sprints, I started with hands on my hips so I couldn't go as fast. So I had way less chance of fucking myself up.
Yeah, of course.
I've been doing resisted with a sled and or the hill is where I started. So again, I can't go as fast and I can't get into positions where the hamstrings at a bigger risk. So again, like just reducing ways to reduce risk and then managing load. If you do those two things, you can fucking do anything.
Yeah.
So it's just working out the start point, or you're hiring somebody to figure out or know that start point for you, and then working your way forward. And it often doesn't take that long if you're doing it right. What takes long is like trying to jump in, fucking yourself up, going like, I can't do that anymore, taking 6 months off because you're mentally limited, or you've mentally told yourself you can't, and then you try to go back into it later and you fuck yourself up again, and it's just a just round in circles type thing. That's what takes long.
Well, yeah, I used to see it all the time as well, coming from working with a little bit more like, I guess, quote unquote, gen pop and people who had less specific goals, more, your mums and dads who just wanted to lose some weight, or they wanted to do this, or they wanted to do that, or they were a desk worker and they hadn't moved in a very long time.
Yeah, this one.
And you see these people and they'll go, and this is no fault to their own at all. This is just what they're kind of taught and what they see on social media and stuff. But they'll go, okay, I've been sedentary at a desk for the last 20 years. I'm going to go do F45 6 days a week where I'm jumping on boxes and I'm doing burpees and I'm lifting and I'm running and all of this stuff. And then they injure themselves.
Yeah.
Knees, back, hips, shoulders gone, all of this sort of stuff. Or you see someone who, again, sedentary for forever. And instead of just starting, okay, I'm just going to walk one lap of the block. That'll be how I get started. And two, they're like, I have to go running.
Or more in our world, somebody that wants to get into strength training and they just go and like hits the 5x5 deadlifts,
10x10 German
just
volume.
something crazy because they read that that's on like, and it's not even that that's a bad program. It's just like, you're not ready for that yet. Let's just like start a little bit lower volume, a little bit less intensity, a little bit more constrained variation that's going to hold you back to meet you with where you're at. Before you even fucking know it, you're going to be able to do that program. And then once you can do that program, you can almost do any program. And then you're fucking, the world will open up to you. Yeah. You really need to just, that starting point is so important to make that happen.
And sometimes you can feel, especially as a coach as well, if you have somebody come to you, whether their goal is strength or whatever the case might be, you could almost feel bad holding that person back because they're so keen to get started. They're motivated. This is where they're at. This is what they want to do. They want to train. Like the amount of people who have start with me and they're like, yep, I want a 6-day split. I want to do this. I want to do this. And I'm like, okay, cool. Let's start with 4. Let's start here and we'll build up into that.
Yeah.
And then by the time they get through it and the work they're doing is really constructive and they're working out that like, okay, you know what? 4 is actually great. It balances my life really well. It balances my training. I'm making great progress. I'm hitting everything I want to hit. I'm getting stronger, faster, leaner, whatever the case might be. Cool. Okay, this is where we're at. And you can just build on it from there.
Yeah, you can either add more days in, or if a person is really set, for the coaches out there anyway, if a person is really set on 6 days and you can't change their mind, sometimes you can
you can manipulate things to make it work, that it's still giving them.
Yeah, you can either spread it out or give them really restricted variations, or maybe 2 of the days are like conditioning days where you can't really do that much, impactful stuff. So like there's ways to lay out weeks that can make it seem like you're doing that, but you're not doing that as well. So trick for the coaches out there. I've noticed that in the Olympic lifts, in the sprinting, in the even with the endurance stuff, you'll notice that the first few sessions are usually really hard, and then even because that system is so quick to adapt, even within a few weeks, you kind of get better at it relatively quickly. And one thing I want to touch in here to finish this up is just that most of the time the reason that you hate it, or like you have this perceived hatred towards a particular exercise or type of exercise, is just because you suck at it.
Yeah.
Like you said with this front squats, like you hated it on the first time and you almost get up on it because you're like, because you suck at it. If you look at it, if you take a step back now and go, that's the reason.
Oh, I knew it before I even started. I messaged James when he put front squats in and was like, I suck at front squats.
Yeah.
Can I please do SSB? And he goes, no, the reason we're doing front squats is because you suck at them.
Mm.
And I was like, okay, yeah.
Like
I was trying to run from something because I knew I wasn't good at it.
Yeah, and it's sometimes that is a valid thing, but like in some circumstances, but most of the time, like you will with that. I'm sure. Even how many weeks you in now? 3, 4?
This would be my 3rd week technically. Yeah.
Yeah. So even now, like you said, you've added a heap of weight. You've got a lot more competency within that as well, and it, I'm sure, is something that you're not near as hesitant to do now. You probably
actually enjoy them.
Yeah, you start to look forward to it because you start to get better at it.
Yeah.
When you start it's like if you play a video game, the first time you jump online or whatever, and you're like, fuck yeah, sick. And sick game when you're versing like the game itself, and then you jump online and then you actually get slaughtered by these guys that
and you never want to play them again.
And you're like, fuck this game. But then you play a few times and you start to like catch up, at least like hold your own to some degree, and then and then it makes it fun again. Yeah, so like you just need to get past the sucky little bit at the start, which is so much less than what you think it is, and you'll be right.
There's not many exercises nowadays that I can do that I'll add 20 kilos to 30 kilos a week and get better at the movement.
Yeah.
Like, it's just not. So for me, it's like, oh, this is sick.
And it was the same with the old lifts for me.
Yeah.
Which
as you progress and get better.
I haven't added a heap of weight, but I've added on purpose. I've gotten a lot better at them.
Improved massively.
And I managed to like work my way up the variation list into more loadable stuff. When that video does come out with Brandon, we got to some power cleans, which
there's 2 videos coming out, one with Brandon and one with Eugene.
Eugene, there was 4 videos in that one day.
A lot.
And then there was that with Brandon, which we filmed. We had to film. Just to go back to that, we got there, and then one of Mickey, the call that Mickey, she had a call that she needed to be on, and we planned it so that they wouldn't overlap. But then, just due to the way that the day went and a couple of just scheduling issues, it ended up being that her call was literally exactly the same time as when we planned. So we had to film it full, like handheld candid style, where it was just like us, like vlog style.
Perfect.
Where it was just like us just filming our workout as opposed to like being a little bit more professional. So it's a very different style.
Bring that back. Bring more of that. I think a good mix of that stuff. Like, it's nice to see all the professional, really nice finished. But I think sometimes people just like
it wasn't like on my phone, like
you whip out your Nokia.
Yeah, Instagram style, but it wasn't. It was still with a camera and stuff. But it was. I'm very curious to see how that turns out because Brandon has editing duties on that, so we'll see what he comes up with. The poor guy.
Yeah,
I might shoot him
not
a message
much to work with.
Yeah, it's more like our big face or like half our face is cut off because like we're trying to talk whilst holding it. Yeah,
that's all that matters.
Yeah, vlog. We're out. Right, cool. We'll leave there. We'll catch you later.
Thank you for listening to the Nexus Unloaded podcast. Be sure to jump on our website to find details on everything mentioned in the podcast today, plus information on our coaching, mentoring, and gyms based in the Gold Coast and Townsville. Make sure you follow us on our Instagram for any updates on what we are currently doing, and we'll see you all in the next episode.